The Deep Space Research Station hung silently against the backdrop of infinite darkness. Solar panels glinted like crystalline wings, capturing the distant starlight that had traveled millennia to reach this singular point of human observation. Dr. Sarah Chen adjusted the quantum resonance scanners, her fingers moving with the practiced precision of someone who had spent more years among the stars than on solid ground. The station's systems hummed with a quiet intensity, a testament to human engineering that balanced delicate complexity with robust functionality. Most research outposts were purely functional, sterile environments dedicated to data collection. But this station was different. It was a testament to human curiosity, a beacon of exploration that pushed the boundaries of known scientific understanding. Outside, the reinforced observation windows, the universe stretched in an infinite canvas of darkness and pinprick lights. Sarah had long since learned that silence was the true language of space, a silence that spoke volumes to those patient enough to listen. The first anomaly appeared as a subtle disturbance in the quantum field mapping. Most sensors would have missed it, a microscopic fluctuation that lasted less than a nanosecond. But the station's custom-built detection array, developed through years of collaborative international research, caught the whisper of something extraordinary. Sarah leaned closer to the holographic display, her dark eyes narrowing. The quantum signature was unlike anything in the current astronomical databases. It wasn't just foreign, it was fundamentally alien in a way that challenged everything humanity understood about interstellar communication and movement. Computer, she spoke softly. Run a comparative analysis. Cross-reference with xenological research databases. The station's artificial intelligence began its work, quantum processors spinning through terabytes of data in milliseconds. Sarah knew the drill. Most such anomalies turned out to be nothing. Cosmic background radiation, quantum noise, or some previously unrecorded astronomical phenomenon. But something felt different this time. The research station was part of a global network, a collaborative effort that represented humanity's most advanced deep space observation project. Positioned at one of the solar system's Lagrange points, it offered an unobstructed view of potential incoming signals or objects from beyond known space. Funding for the project had been a global effort. Nations that once competed now worked, together pooling resources and scientific expertise. The station represented more than just a scientific outpost. It was a symbol of human potential, of our ability to look beyond immediate terrestrial concerns and reach for something greater. Minutes passed. The computer's analysis continued, layers of complex algorithms sifting through astronomical data with methodical precision. Sarah allowed herself a small sip of coffee, a luxury in space, carefully preserved and rationed. The liquid was strong, bitter, a reminder of the research stations in Chile where she had first begun her career studying cosmic microwave background radiation. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. The computer had completed its initial analysis. The quantum signature was not random, it was structured, intentional. Highlight primary anomaly characteristics, Sarah commanded, her voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline. Holographic displays bloomed around her, revealing a complex pattern that defied current understanding of interstellar communication. The signature suggested not just intelligence, but a level of technological sophistication that made human advances look like primitive scratches on a cave wall. Something was coming, and humanity was about to receive its first true test of survival. The research station continued its silent vigil, a tiny human construct suspended in the vast, indifferent darkness of space. No alarms blared, no emergency protocols activated. Just the quiet, methodical collection of data that would soon change everything humanity understood about its place in the universe. First contact was no longer a theoretical concept. It was becoming a reality. The first alien ships breached Earth's atmosphere with a silence that defied their immense scale. Massive vessels, shaped like obsidian arrowheads, cast shadows that swallowed entire cities in moments. Their arrival was not heralded by explosions or dramatic declarations, just a sudden, oppressive darkness that dropped global temperatures by several degrees. In Tokyo, emergency broadcast systems flickered to life, their standard warning protocols overwhelmed by the sheer impossibility of what was happening. Street cameras captured the massive ships blocking out the sun, their surfaces so dark they seemed to absorb light itself. People stood frozen, smartphone cameras raised, capturing what would become humanity's first visual record of the invasion. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from a secondary monitoring station in Chile, her hands moving across holographic interfaces with practiced precision. The global communication network was already transforming, no longer a collection of competing systems, but a unified web of information exchange that the invaders could not have anticipated. "Activate Global Network Protocol," she whispered, into her communication device. Thousands of miles away, in research facilities, military installations, and university laboratories, a remarkable process began. It wasn't a centralized response, but a distributed organic reaction that defied traditional military doctrine. In Mumbai, a group of young engineers began reprogramming satellite communication networks. Their solution wasn't about resistance. In the traditional sense, it was adaptation. They created a communication protocol so dynamic that it would be impossible for the alien systems to predict or interrupt. A teenager in São Paulo discovered a critical vulnerability in the alien ship's scanning technology. What looked like a simple coding exercise became a key piece of humanity's defensive strategy. She shared her findings through encrypted channels, her discovery spreading faster than any traditional intelligence report could move. The alien vessels made no immediate aggressive moves. Their initial scans suggested a straightforward conquest, a technologically primitive species ripe for subjugation. They expected panic, chaos, a quick capitulation. Instead, they found something entirely unexpected. In Beijing, medical researchers began analyzing the first atmospheric data from the alien ships. What seemed like a simple environmental scan turned into a comprehensive study of potential biological interactions. If the invaders intended to colonize, they would first need to understand the planet's complex biological ecosystem. Military responses were surprisingly measured. Instead of futile missile launches or desperate counterattacks, strategic centers focused on information gathering. Every piece of data became a weapon, every observation a potential breakthrough. The global scientific community, once divided by national boundaries and competitive research grants, now functioned like a single massive neural network. Universities opened their databases. Research facilities shared classified information. What had once been competitive territories became a unified front of human intelligence. Quantum communication networks, previously experimental, now became a critical infrastructure. The alien ship's advanced technology relied on predictable, computational models. Humanity's response would be anything but predictable. In a hidden facility near the Arctic Circle, a team of climatologists and computer scientists worked on something extraordinary. They weren't developing a weapon in the traditional sense. Instead, they were creating a complex information system that could adapt in real time, learning and changing faster than any computational model could track. The alien vessels continued, their silent vigil, massive shadows across major cities. Global stock markets didn't crash. Communication networks remained functional. There was no widespread panic, just a focused, collective response that the invaders could not comprehend. Something fundamental was happening. Humanity was no longer a collection of competing nations. It had become a single adaptive organism. The invasion had begun. But the real battle would be fought not with traditional weapons, but with something far more powerful: human creativity, adaptability, and an unprecedented capacity for collective problem-solving. The ships hung in the sky, waiting. Humanity was already several steps ahead, transforming the very nature of the conflict before the first shot could be fired. The research complex beneath the Andes Mountains was unlike any scientific facility on Earth. Carved into ancient rock formations, it represented the pinnacle of human collaborative potential. Refugees from every continent worked side by side, their backgrounds as diverse as the challenges they now faced. Dr. Rebecca Martinez stood at the center of a holographic display, her fingers tracing complex quantum patterns that danced like living light. Around her, a team of specialists from disciplines that would have never intersected before the invasion now worked with seamless precision. A quantum physicist from Russia compared notes with a neural network specialist from Kenya. An atmospheric chemist from Australia discussed complex computational models with a systems engineer from Brazil. Their conversations moved between multiple languages, translated in real time by advanced communication systems that prioritized understanding over linguistic barriers. The breakthrough came not from a single moment of inspiration, but from a collective process of observation and innovation. The alien technology they had begun to analyze revealed a critical insight. Advanced as it was, the invading systems relied on fundamentally predictable computational models. "Look here," Rebecca called out, expanding a holographic representation of the alien communication network. The structure was beautiful in its complexity, intricate pathways of data that moved with mathematical precision. But within that precision lay a fundamental weakness. The alien technology assumed. It predicted. It calculated, but it could not imagine. A young programmer from Singapore named Li Wei demonstrated the first practical application of this insight. He had developed a communication algorithm that introduced deliberate, seemingly random variations. To the human eye, these variations looked like noise. To a computer, they were meaningless interference. But to the alien computational systems, they were something entirely incomprehensible. The team worked in shifts that blurred day and night. Portable sleeping pods allowed researchers to rest without leaving their workstations. Food was synthesized on site, nutritionally optimized for maximum cognitive performance. Every resource was dedicated to understanding and countering the alien threat. Outside the complex, the world continued to adapt. Cities had transformed into distributed networks of resistance. Traditional infrastructure gave way to more fluid, adaptive systems. Communication networks became living, breathing entities that could route around damage, share information instantaneously, and reorganize at a moment's notice. Rebecca pulled up satellite imagery of major cities. What had once been viewed as chaos was now recognizable as a complex, adaptive response. Urban centers were no longer fixed structures but dynamic ecosystems of human intelligence. "It's not about fighting," she explained to a group of newly arrived researchers. "It's about becoming something they cannot predict or understand." The quantum disruption device they were developing was unlike any weapon in human history. It wasn't designed to destroy, but to communicate, to introduce complexity that would overwhelm the aliens' computational understanding. Wei demonstrated a prototype, showing how the device could generate communication patterns that defied standard algorithmic analysis. It was a language of randomness, of human creativity that existed beyond linear computational models. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A team of neurodivergent researchers, previously marginalized in traditional scientific environments, provided critical insights into nonlinear thinking. Their unique cognitive approaches became a key weapon in understanding the alien technology. The research complex buzzed with a sense of purpose that transcended national boundaries, cultural differences, or previous scientific rivalries. Humanity was no longer a collection of competing nations. It had become a single adaptive intelligence. As the day progressed, new theories emerged. The invasion was not just a physical threat, but a test. A challenge to humanity's potential for adaptation, for collective problem-solving, for transcending the limitations of individual human intelligence. The quantum disruption device took shape, not as a weapon of destruction, but as a tool of communication. A declaration of humanity's fundamental strength, our ability to imagine beyond the predictable, to create complexity where others saw only chaos. The alien ships continued their silent vigil above Earth. They had no idea what was coming. The resistance movement emerged not as a military operation, but as a living, breathing network of human ingenuity. Michael Harper stood at the center of this intricate web, his background in international humanitarian work proving more valuable than any traditional Military training. Communication became the first and most critical weapon. What appeared to be scattered resistance groups were actually a sophisticated, adaptive organism of human collaboration. Each group shared information through encrypted channels so complex that alien surveillance systems couldn't begin to comprehend their communication patterns. In the mountains of Peru, a group of indigenous engineers repurposed ancient agricultural communication techniques, a method of signaling that predated modern technology by centuries. They used a combination of visual markers, sound patterns, and landscape positioning that defied any standard communication protocol. A network of urban explorers in Tokyo transformed the city's infrastructure into a living defense system. Abandoned subway tunnels became communication highways. Rooftop gardens were redesigned as observational points. Every street, every building became a potential point of resistance. Michael's coordination strategy defied traditional military doctrine. Instead of centralized command, he created a distributed network where each group could operate independently while maintaining a holistic understanding of the broader resistance effort. Information flowed like water, finding paths of least resistance, adapting to obstacles, never following a predictable route. In Mumbai, a collective of technology students developed communication algorithms that changed their encryption patterns every millisecond. What looked like random digital noise to the alien systems was actually a complex language of resistance. They turned the invaders' technological superiority into a vulnerability. The resistance wasn't just about fighting, it was about survival, adaptation, and collective problem-solving. A group of marine biologists in Australia discovered that the alien ships' scanning technologies had critical limitations when it came to understanding complex, living ecosystems. They began developing camouflage techniques that mimicked the adaptive capabilities of ocean environments, making human settlements virtually invisible to alien detection systems. In the Canadian wilderness, a community of off-grid survival experts shared techniques for sustainable living that made traditional infrastructure look obsolete. They developed communication methods using natural phenomena, wind patterns, animal migrations, subtle changes in local ecosystems that could carry messages across vast distances. Michael understood that the true strength of the resistance lay in its diversity. Each group brought unique perspectives, skills, and approaches. A network of teachers developed educational programs that were simultaneously broadcast and hidden, ensuring that human knowledge and culture could not be easily suppressed. Refugee. Communities became centers of innovation. People who had lost everything found new purpose in the resistance. A group of displaced engineers in a temporary settlement near the Mediterranean developed water purification systems that could operate under extreme conditions. Their innovation became a critical resource for resistance groups worldwide. The alien invasion had inadvertently created something unprecedented, a truly global human network that transcended previous limitations of communication, culture, and collective action. Satellite communication networks were repurposed. Weather monitoring systems became early warning networks. Every technological system became a potential weapon of resistance. In the Brazilian rainforest, an indigenous community used traditional tracking techniques to monitor alien ship movements. Their understanding of landscape and environmental patterns provided insights that no advanced technology could match. Michael received updates through a communication system so complex that it appeared completely random to outside observation. Each message was a puzzle, each transmission a testament to human creativity. The resistance was not a military force in the traditional sense. It was a living, breathing organism of human potential. Each group operated with a level of autonomy that made them impossible to predict or suppress. When one node was discovered, the entire network would shift, adapt, and continue. As the alien ships maintained their silent vigil above Earth, they remained unaware of the complex network developing beneath them. Humanity was transforming the very nature of resistance, turning vulnerability into strength, chaos into opportunity. The true battle had only just begun. The quantum communication disruptor took shape in the most unexpected of laboratories. a converted research facility nestled in the mountains of New Zealand. Dr. Rachel Peterson stood before a holographic display, her fingers tracing the intricate pathways of a device that would redefine human-alien interaction. What began as a theoretical exercise in interspecies communication had become humanity's most powerful weapon. The device was not designed to destroy, but to communicate in a language that transcended computational understanding. "It's about breaking their perception," Rachel explained to her international team. "We're not just sending a signal, we're sending an experience." The team comprised specialists from disciplines that would have never intersected before the invasion. A neurologist from Brazil worked alongside a quantum physicist from South Korea. An indigenous storyteller from Australia collaborated with a digital artist from Nigeria. Their collective expertise created something far more powerful than any traditional weapon. The first test came unexpectedly. During a routine calibration, the device began to transmit something extraordinary. Not just data, but raw human experience. Moments of joy, of struggle, of profound connection burst through the alien communication networks like a cascade of unquantifiable information. Music from a street performer in Mumbai intertwined with a child's laughter from a refugee camp. The mathematical precision of a complex scientific equation merged with the emotional landscape of a mother's love. Abstract art collided with quantum computational models, creating a communication pattern that defied all logical analysis. The alien communication systems began to falter. What they had perceived as a simple, conquerable species was revealing itself to be something entirely different. Humanity was not a collection of individuals, but a complex, living network of experiences, emotions, and potential. In a small studio in Buenos Aires, a group of artists began working on what they called experiential communication modules. They understood something profound, that human creativity was a form of language more complex than any computational system could comprehend. Rachel watched as the first full-scale transmission began. The quantum disruptor didn't just send information, it sent context, emotion, the kind of nuanced communication that no algorithmic system could fully process. A symphony composed by survivors of previous global conflicts played across alien communication channels. Mathematical proofs created by children in schools merged with complex emotional landscapes. The transmission was a living, breathing entity, impossible to categorize, difficult to understand. The alien communication networks began to show signs of stress. Their computational models, designed to predict and control, started to break down when confronted with the sheer complexity of human experience. A network of musicians began to collaborate on what they called a global emotional frequency. They used quantum entanglement principles to create a communication method that was part art, part science, part pure human experience. Rachel understood that the true power of their approach was its fundamental unpredictability. Traditional weapons sought to destroy. Their weapons sought to communicate in a way that challenged the very foundations of alien understanding. Neuroscientists mapped the transmission, discovering something remarkable. The signal contained layers of information that went beyond traditional communication. It was simultaneously a mathematical proof, an emotional experience, and a form of artistic expression. The quantum disruptor became more than a device. It was a declaration of human potential. Transmission sites were distributed across the globe. No single location could be targeted. Each site was both a communication point and a work of collaborative art. Schools, community centers, research facilities, all became part of a global communication network that defied traditional understanding. As the transmission continued, something unexpected happened. The alien ships began to change their positioning. Their communication patterns became erratic. For the first time since their arrival, they showed signs of confusion. Humanity was speaking a language that had never been heard before, a language of collective experience, of shared potential, of creativity that knew no boundaries. The true battle was not about destruction, it was about understanding, and humanity was just beginning to speak. The turning point arrived not with a thunderous battle, but with a subtle shift in the global consciousness. Resistance groups around the world synchronized their efforts in a way that defied traditional military strategy. Each action was a carefully choreographed movement in a complex, living network of human potential. In the mountains of Nepal, a group of climate researchers developed a breakthrough that would change everything. They discovered a method of manipulating atmospheric conditions that could disrupt the alien ship's sensing capabilities. What looked like standard weather monitoring was actually a sophisticated defensive strategy. Global communication networks, once divided by national boundaries, now functioned as a single adaptive organism. Information traveled faster than the alien systems could process, creating a collective intelligence that was more than the sum of its individual parts. Dr. Elena Rodriguez coordinated from a mobile research unit that moved constantly, never remaining in one location long enough to be tracked. Her team had developed a series of technological innovations that transformed everyday infrastructure into a complex defensive system. Cellular networks became transmission points for encrypted communications. Power grids were redesigned to create electromagnetic interference patterns that confused alien scanning technologies. Every system was now a potential weapon. Every piece of infrastructure a point of resistance. In the urban centers of Southeast Asia, a network of young engineers turned public transportation systems into mobile communication hubs. Buses, trains, and shipping containers became moving points of data transmission and resistance. The cities themselves became living, breathing, defensive networks. The alien command structure began to show signs of strain. Their computational models designed to predict and control started to break down when confronted with the sheer unpredictability of human response. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A group of neurodivergent researchers discovered that the alien technological systems had a critical vulnerability. They struggled to process nonlinear, emotionally driven decision-making. Human creativity became a weapon more powerful than any traditional military technology. In the Brazilian rainforest, indigenous communities shared tracking techniques that had been developed over thousands of years. Their understanding of environmental patterns provided insights that no advanced scanning technology could match. They turned the landscape itself into a defensive network. The resistance was no longer about fighting, it was about transformation. Global scientific communities worked together in ways that defied previous limitations. A researcher in South Africa would collaborate in real time with a colleague in Canada, sharing insights that would have taken months to communicate in previous years. Refugee communities became centers of innovation. People who had lost everything found new purpose in the resistance. A group of displaced engineers developed water purification systems that could operate under extreme conditions. Their innovations became critical resources for resistance groups worldwide. The alien ships began to show signs of vulnerability. Their communication networks became increasingly erratic. What had seemed like an insurmountable technological advantage was now revealing itself to be a critical weakness. In the Arctic research stations, a team of climatologists developed a method of creating localized environmental conditions that interfered with alien technological systems. They could create microclimates that acted as natural defensive barriers. Communication became the most powerful weapon. Not traditional communication, but a complex network of shared experiences, scientific insights, and collective problem-solving. School children became crucial contributors to the resistance. Their ability to think outside traditional computational models provided critical insights. A group of middle school students in India developed a communication algorithm that could transmit complex information through seemingly random data patterns. The alien invasion had inadvertently created something unprecedented, a truly global, human network that transcended previous limitations of communication, culture, and collective action. As the alien ships maintained their position above Earth, they remained unaware of the complex network developing beneath them. Humanity was transforming the very nature of resistance, turning vulnerability into strength, chaos into opportunity. The battle was no longer about survival, it was about demonstrating the true potential of human intelligence. And humanity was just getting started. Commander Elena Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the Global Coordination Center, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that mapped the intricate dance of human resistance. The final confrontation was unlike any battle in human history, a complex symphony of technological innovation, psychological warfare, and collective human potential. The alien fleet, once seemingly invincible, now appeared fragile. Their massive obsidian ships hung in the atmosphere, no longer symbols of overwhelming power, but testament to the limitations of pure computational thinking. Communication networks across the globe synchronized with a precision that defied traditional military doctrine. Each resistance group, each scientific team, each community became a critical node in a living, breathing defensive system. In the depths of the Pacific, a network of marine researchers had discovered a critical vulnerability in the alien ships' environmental adaptation systems. Their findings merged with atmospheric research from Arctic stations, creating a multi-layered approach that would systematically dismantle the invasion. The quantum communication disruptors developed earlier now became the primary weapon, but it was not a weapon of destruction. It was a weapon of understanding. Each transmission carried layers of human experience that the alien computational systems could not process. A group of artists in Rio de Janeiro created transmission modules that merged mathematical precision with raw emotional content. Quantum entangled signals carried complex human experiences, moments of joy, of struggle, of profound connection that challenged the very foundations of the alien understanding of intelligence. Commander Rodriguez coordinated through a communication network so complex that it appeared completely random to outside observation. Each message was a puzzle, each transmission a testament to human creativity. The first major breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A team of neurodivergent researchers demonstrated how human cognitive diversity was itself a form of defense. The alien systems designed to predict and control began to break down when confronted with the sheer unpredictability of human thought. In the mountains of Tibet, a group of Buddhist monks collaborated with quantum physicists, developing meditation techniques that could subtly interfere with the alien ship's computational systems. Their approach merged ancient wisdom with cutting-edge scientific understanding. Global positioning systems were transformed. Every device became a potential point of resistance. Cellular networks, satellite communications, even consumer electronics became part of a massive distributed defensive network. The alien command structure showed increasing signs of stress. Their computational models, which had seemed invincible, now revealed fundamental weaknesses. Humanity was not a linear system to be conquered, but a complex, adaptive intelligence that defied traditional understanding. A breakthrough came from a network of schoolchildren who had developed communication algorithms that mimicked the most complex forms of human creativity. Their approach was simultaneously a mathematical proof, an artistic expression, and a form of psychological warfare. The resistance was no longer about fighting. It was about demonstrating a fundamentally different approach to intelligence and existence. Refugee communities became centers of innovation. People who had lost everything found new purpose in collective problem-solving. Engineering teams developed technologies that could operate under extreme conditions, turning limitation into opportunity. As the final confrontation approached, the alien ships began to show critical system failures. Their communication networks became increasingly erratic. The very technologies that had seemed to promise total conquest now revealed themselves as fundamentally limited. Commander Rodriguez understood that the true victory was not about destruction, but about demonstrating the profound potential of collective human intelligence. Each transmission, each coordinated action, was a declaration of humanity's fundamental strength. The Global Coordination Center buzzed with a sense of purpose that transcended national boundaries, cultural differences, or previous scientific rivalries. Humanity had become a single adaptive intelligence. In the final moments, the alien fleet began to retreat, not through military defeat, but through a complete breakdown of their fundamental understanding of intelligence and existence. The ships, that had once seemed invincible, now appeared fragile, their computational systems overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of human experience. Humanity had not just survived. It had transformed the very nature of what it meant to be an intelligent species. The universe would never look at humanity the same way again. The world looked different in the aftermath of the invasion. Cities that had once been defined by national boundaries now existed as interconnected networks of human potential. The global coordination that had emerged during the resistance became a permanent transformation of human society. Dr. Rachel Peterson stood before an international council, presenting findings that would reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. The invasion had been more than a military confrontation. It was a cosmic test of human potential. Research teams discovered that the alien approach was part of a larger galactic assessment. Civilizations were evaluated not by their technological advancement, but by their capacity for adaptive intelligence, collective problem-solving, and creative potential. Humanity had not just survived. It had redefined the very concept of intelligence. In the months following the invasion, technological breakthroughs emerged at an unprecedented rate. The collaborative networks developed during the resistance became permanent scientific and social structures. Universities transformed their educational models, emphasizing interdisciplinary thinking and collective innovation. The global communication systems that had been developed as defensive mechanisms now became platforms for unprecedented human collaboration. A researcher in Kenya could instantaneously collaborate with colleagues in Chile, sharing insights that would have taken months to communicate in previous years. Refugee communities, once viewed as vulnerable populations, became centers of innovation. The experience of displacement had created a unique form of adaptive thinking. Engineers, artists, and scientists who had lost everything found new purpose in collective problem-solving. Urban centers were redesigned to reflect the lessons learned. During the invasion, cities became living, breathing ecosystems of human potential. Infrastructure was no longer about fixed structures, but about adaptive, interconnected networks that could respond to changing conditions. The global scientific community published a comprehensive report detailing the invasion and humanity's response. It was not a story of military victory, but of collective human potential. The report became required reading in educational institutions worldwide. In the Brazilian rainforest, indigenous communities shared tracking techniques that had proven crucial during the invasion. Their traditional knowledge, once marginalized, was now recognized as a critical form of adaptive intelligence. Technologies developed during the resistance found applications in addressing global challenges. Water purification systems created by displaced engineers became critical solutions for climate-challenged regions. Communication algorithms developed by school children transformed global information networks. The psychological impact was profound. Humanity had confronted an existential threat and discovered something remarkable about itself. The divisions that had once seemed insurmountable, national boundaries, cultural differences, economic disparities, now appeared trivial. A new educational model emerged emphasizing cognitive diversity as a critical form of human strength. Neurodivergent individuals, once marginalized, were now recognized as crucial contributors to human problem-solving. The global coordination center that had managed the resistance became a permanent institution. Its mission expanded beyond defensive strategies to focus on collective human potential. Research teams began to decode the alien communication technologies, not as a form of weapons development, but as a way of understanding different forms of intelligence. The quantum communication disruptors became tools of exploration and understanding. Space exploration programs received unprecedented funding and support. Humanity's perspective had fundamentally changed. The universe was no longer a threat to be defended against, but a complex system to be understood and explored. International borders became more fluid. The global networks developed during the resistance made traditional concepts of nationality seem increasingly irrelevant. People identified more with their global human potential than with narrow national identities. Educational institutions redesigned their curricula to emphasize adaptability, creative problem-solving, and collective intelligence. Traditional competitive models gave way to collaborative learning approaches. The invasion had been a catalyst for human evolution, not biological evolution, but a profound transformation of human potential. Dr. Peterson concluded her report with, a statement that would be quoted for generations. We did not just survive an invasion. We discovered what it truly means to be human. As the first anniversary of the invasion approached, humanity looked to the stars with a new understanding. The universe was vast, complex, and filled with potential, and humanity had proven itself capable of meeting any challenge. The Global Coordination Center displayed a holographic map of human achievements in the past year. It was a testament to collective human potential, a visualization of what could be achieved when humanity worked. As a single adaptive intelligence, the invasion was over, but humanity's real journey was just beginning.